So, you want to learn about obscure European colonies in North America? Well, I can only imagine you've come to the right place, is what I would say. So everyone knows the typical crew that you learn about colonizing North America in high school. You know, Spain, France, Britain, Portugal, the Dutch, if you know your stuff maybe. But then it starts getting weirder with the Polish, the Germans, the Italians, Russia, Sweden. What is all of this? New Courland was a colony by the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth on Tobago, and yes, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth is what it sounds like, a merger between Poland and Lithuania. Where's Tobago? I'm so glad you asked. Let's look. Here's South America, and this tiny island dot off the coast of Venezuela is Trinidad and Tobago. Let's get super up close. Ah, that's better. You may have heard of them, but this island is Trinidad, and this island is Tobago. Why colonize the bigger one with more resources when you can colonize the smaller one with less? For clarification, Tobago Island is 10 times smaller than the smallest U.S. state, Rhode Island. So the Polish set up shop here in 1637, and the colony quickly failed after in many respects. I can only imagine it going like some Polish colonists on the island going like, "Tu jest okropny. Kurwa!" So in 1659, the colony failed again and was sold to none other than the Dutch. Now, the Dutch were kind of famous for colonizing everywhere, but anyways, a year later, in 1660, the Polish came back again, but the new colony that they just set up failed again in 1666. They tried again in 1668, but that failed for the third time. Do you think they went for a fourth time? Of course they did. Now, in 1683, that one failed again, and that failed in 1686, if you're wondering, of course. And finally, it was no more in 1690. And, unfortunately, what I feel, really bad saying, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth's colonies in North America had failed. By the way, yeah, I bet you thought that Trinidad and Tobago was in South America all this time, didn't you? No, it's actually just a tiny island in North America for some reason. It's closer geographically and culturally to the south, but yeah, I guess not. Hey, remember that time when Germany took over Venezuela? No, you don't, so let me tell you about it. Our tale begins when Spain owned their Venezuelan colony pictured here. It soon became known as Klein Venedig, which is German for Little Venice or Small Venice, and it existed from 1528 to 1546. Like I said, at the time it was owned by Spain, but soon it wouldn't be. So the Welser family in the Holy Roman Empire, aka Germany at the time, agreed to take control over the colony in exchange for Charles V's debts. But since he was king of both Spain and Germany, it was kind of cheating at the time, but what the heck. So instead of just pawning off the colony, he decided to say, screw it, I'm gonna explore this new land. He hired none other than the certain Ambrosius Ehinger, I don't know, to take a look-see around the place. Now, they were basically just there in the first place to find the mythical golden city of El Dorado, but so was everyone else. Eventually, they needed a base, so Ambrosius founded the city of Maracaibo, one of the largest cities in Venezuela today. Soon after, Ambrosius died and got replaced with Philip von Hutten, who was this guy here. Now, Philip had to leave for a while, and when he came back, one of the Spaniards in charge of the territory, who was the great Juan de Carvajal himself, took responsibility over the colony again, and then when Hutton returned, Carvajal just straight up beheaded him for some reason. So whatever came of this ragtag colony? Well, let's take a look at the overview. Klein Venedig needed labor, so German miners from the mainland were sent in to work there, and so were slaves from Africa to farm sugarcane. Yeah, they had a shaky history. Remember that at this time, Italy wasn't a country yet, but was rather split up into many different city-states, but Tuscany was the most successful out of them, usually. In 1608, under the leadership of Ferdinand I, he told Captain Robert Thornton to go and make a colony. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of him to go by, so I'll just make him up. There we go, that looks like a Robert Thornton, right? They needed wood for their Renaissance artworks, and what better place to get wood than a place basically filled with it? Thornton sailed the seas and landed in what would soon be French Guiana, somewhere in here. He got what he came for, the wood, but decided to take 5 natives back with him on the journey back to Tuscany. Obviously, 5 out of the 6 died from smallpox. However, 1 survived. Thornton saw this as his golden opportunity, fired up the old ship, loaded the native on there, and took him back to Tuscany. The native learned to speak Tuscan and talked about the materials his homeland was rich in, and when Thornton wanted to tell Duke Ferdinando about this new business venture, Thornton discovered that a new duke was in town, Cosimo II. Cosimo didn't care about the colony since it was small and irrelevant, and as a result it faded into nothingness. Russian America was the term for Russia's colonies in North America. Very creative. Map time. Here's the world, here's the Russian Empire, here's their Alaska colony, here's where they own some land in California, and here's where they own some land in Hawaii. Yeah, bet you didn't know that one. Alright, friendly friends, let's talk about the tale of the time Russia colonized Alaska. Clarity, BT dubs. Russia's far eastern peninsula is on the left there, and Alaska is on the right. So the year is 1784, and Russia has colonized the Aleutian Islands, and has just reached Kodiak Island, you know, the one famous for those bears. Upon reaching the Aleutians, the Russians killed many of the natives, and they soon declined in numbers. Now, when they pressed farther into Alaska, what we now know as the Panhandle on the west coast, they built a small town called Mikhailovsk. However, the natives didn't much care for this being built, so they attacked the town and destroyed it. Upon hearing about this, the Russians came back all the way from mainland Russia with a giant full-sized warship, and they destroyed the whole village in some petty revenge. And that's the story. Now, if you want some bonus tidbits, they set up a giant company that traded furs in Russia and Siberia and also Alaska, which helped prolong their stay there. The year is 1812. Russia has just built Fort Ross in Northern California, strategically in the middle of the wilderness. Now, I couldn't find an exact answer on it, but assuming that since they were already in Alaska, they just decided to go down further and see how many fur stations they could build, but that's just my guess. So, why was it so strategic, though? It was mostly important for 4 main reasons. There weren't any other Europeans nearby, it had otters and seals, and most importantly, it was used as a food supply for the other colonies. The fort in and of itself was useful in helping out the people that lived there, mostly because of the sealing and the otter slaughter, but that's not all that it was used for. It was also useful for food, which was seen as semi-important to survival. At its height, it was home to nearly 128 people, which is really good for a tiny fort in the middle of nowhere on an unknown continent nearly 6,000 miles away from your homeland and 2 whole oceans away. Even a little over 100 Native Americans called it home, which is rare. In 1841, it was abandoned, and in 1867, Russian activity in the Americas ceased after Alaska was sold to the U.S. Year 1815. Hawaii has an island up north called Kauai, whose chief is a rebellious one, alright. He's part of the Kingdom of Hawaii, aka these islands, but he frequently rebels, or at least tries to. He got the attention of Russia after stealing some of Russia's merch, and boy did that do it. The King of Hawaii, King Kamehameha I, needs to agree with the Russians to take down the rebellious goob up north, but he disagrees instead. So the Russians ditch the whole diplomacy thing and just sail to Kauai anyways and decide to defend against the probable onslaught of Hawaiians by building 3 forts, effectively taking control over the island. They were Fort Elizabeth, Fort Alexander, and Fort Barclay de Tolly. However, to actually get done with doing anything on the island, they needed permission from the Tsar, who said, "No, why are you guys even in Hawaii? That's so far away, just get this stuff and come back." And since no permission was given, that was that. the whole charade was cancelled, and the forts were abandoned in 1853 after a failed coup, ending Russian control over the soon-to-be Hawaiian island. Editor's note, by the way, even from the easternmost settlement in Russia, Hawaii is still 3.3 thousand miles away. Finally, we have New Sweden on our hands. As the name suggests, it was a colony of Sweden who was far more powerful back then, and then the colony existed from 1638 to 1655. Obviously, it was located along the east coast, nestled lengthwise along the Delaware River. The capital settlement here was Fort Christina. Until 1655, however, the people here just kind of survived and just farmed and did their own stuff. But then in 1655, who else but the neighboring Dutch dropped by for a little visit and effectively annexed the colony, adding it to their own mass. But what did our Swedish friends leave behind as their legacy? The log cabin designed for homes. For centuries to come, this log cabin would be a symbol of European survival in the New World. God bless you, New Sweden. Well, have a good day, friends. Thanks for watching. This is my longest video yet. I hope next video will be as thrilling as this one was rough to make.